And welcome to my video on using Autodesk Revit for a residential building. We'll start off here, just opening up Revit right now. Wait for it to get her going, and we'll just see how it is to get the files opened up and make it get us a start in building our house. So we can see in this menu that shows up originally, we've got all kinds of projects that we may have been doing, whatever it is, and families that, if you followed any of the other stuff that I've done, we've talked about families and what they are, what you might have manipulated in the past. We do have a bunch of things that we could put in there. But right now, what we're trying to do is just get the residential building started. So we're going to go up to, we could go up here to File New, create a new file, or we could just press Control N, like in many of the programs that are out there. Control N should give us a new file from that particular menu here. So we have a bunch of different models it could be. We'll have Imperial Architectural is not a bad one to start off with. I like it myself. The structural template, we'll go with Architectural. And you could pick Imperial or Metric, but we're going to go with Imperial. Most of the projects I've really seen most of the time seem to be an Imperial. You can have them in both. You can actually change it back and forth in Revit as you see fit, going along in here. If you're in a project and all of a sudden somebody decides that it's going to be, you've been drawing it all wrong, it's in feet and inches, and then they want it in millimeters, your clients said that it's millimeters or something, easy enough to change. It's just a matter of typing UN into the keyboard, and that brings up our units, and you can certainly go in there and change it up as you see fit. I'm not going to worry about it, but certainly any of this information, your angle, your area, cost per area, they give you distances, lengths. You would change that up, say if you're doing your lengths instead of feet and inches like we have here, we go into millimeters. Most things, when you're into metric, you're really getting down into millimeters. So we'll cancel that for now. We're not changing any of this lengths, distance, whatever, volumes, things that you might want to have them. Like if you were doing a metric drawing, the metric template would be the correct answer for what you would have this in. And certainly then at that point you can change all this up. I know in AutoCAD they get right carried away with all these types of things. If you had a distance in AutoCAD, you can actually have it as much as like parsecs and light years and such like that for it, which unless you're designing the universe, you're not going to have much use for light years in the average drawing. But who knows what they're using it for? Maybe there's some astrophysicists out there that are trying to map out the universe in AutoCAD. I don't know, but they do have it in there. It's pretty crazy, but it is what it is. For this, we're certainly not building a house in a measurement of light years. That'd be, no one's got that kind of money. I think we're going to just be feet and inches. Sounds great. We're not quite there yet on building like any kind of Star Wars type building, or like Death Star or anything. We're just building a house. No need for excessive measurements. So what we can do here is actually we'll go into our. It's always important to start off with actually going into your to get us started, to get into levels that you're going to use, so that when we're putting our grid together, we don't have to readjust where our grid lines are as opposed to level lines. Right now we're in a view of level 1, and these here will be actually your views in towards the building from, so you can see the like as though those are cameras almost, and you'll be able to look into your building with that. And you can move those in and out if you really needed the space for it. That is quite a significant area that is in there. I highly doubt that you'll be building a building. Well, you might build a house that's bigger than that. I mean, who knows? I don't know what your client's budget necessarily is. It certainly could be a building bigger than that, and you just move these things out a little ways out. It's not a big deal. And then, the way we go, right? But for now, we're going to go into our elevations, which is in the properties browser. So it's on the left-hand side of your lower left-hand side of your screen. You should have the project browser open. If you don't have all this, there's definitely ways of opening up whatever tabs are in there. But for right now, we've got this open. If you haven't got a project browser open, this is what we're dealing with right now. Let's just move forward. We're going to open up an elevation just to sort of write in our level lines. We'll take the east elevation. That's the first one on our list. And we've got level lines that are up here in feet. And that is what we've got. The template is in feet. If you were doing millimeters, it would show up. Instead of 10 feet, it would be whatever in millimeters that you had that set up as. We could set this up. This will actually give us a pretty good sized floor. You'd have your about probably 8-foot ceiling height in this by the time you're all said and done. The foot in between layers of it, and if you had your depending on how thick of floors you're using to do this in, certainly you could eat up that space. But that's I'll show you in this. I've shown it in the commercial video that it is not that it's irrelevant, but it kind of is at this stage what your distance is. It might be handy to know that. I mean, if you're designing a house, you obviously know how much space you're going to want between levels. But we'll start with 10 feet. It's a pretty generous amount of space for a residential building. Your framing isn't really going to be that crazy on it. We'll keep with 10 feet. And what we're going to want to do is actually add in some more levels in it. We'll say that if we're going to do this is your ground floor, one floor up. So your level 2 starts from there, and then we can go from there and add in different levels above and below it. And to do that, what we need to do is type in on our keyboard LL. It'll bring us up the level lines command. And what we should be doing, we could just draw in level lines at whatever height, and it will give us the height. You can see the sort of phantom line that's growing, and I've got one now. It says it's 12 feet up. We could draw a line up 12 feet up or whatever it might be by dragging it across, and doing that there. And it shows me that that's at 23 feet. But instead of doing it in this manner, I mean, certainly houses do vary a little bit more. Like a residential house will vary its floors in spacing a little bit more than what a commercial space usually does. Commercial spaces are rather uniform in that sort of way for the most part. But in this case, it could be that you have one floor has 10-foot ceilings in it, and the other floor has 8-foot ceilings in it. This type of thing. Right now we're just going to keep it simple. Maybe we do want to change that later, but we'll go up here to pick lines. It's in your draw menu in the ribbon, or the end of the ribbon. You have lines and then pick lines. And for this, because they've got it at 10 feet, we'll carry on with having our offset up here that we're going to look at, our offset being 10 feet. It should give us, plenty of space on there. Same as how we did if you followed any of the commercial building stuff. We'll hover over these lines and it'll give you a phantom line above the line. We're not clicking on anything yet. We're just hovering above with our mouse, and that will have put a phantom line above the level 2 at 10 feet above there, so at 20 feet. And then we could have one, if we wanted to go below, then the level 1 and then down into a basement or something, then that will allow us to have the basement 10 feet lower. And we definitely want to be careful of what we're doing there, because we could be clicking on that and it will just continue adding lines for if you're trying to click to, who knows, move your image around or whatever. You know, if you're just not noticing, you could be adding all kinds of lines in there. So it's really important to pay attention to not only which side you're putting in there. So if I was to go right now and click on this, I might not see it right away, but it will add level 3 down into level 1. And that will not be our friend. We could get rid of them, but you know, let's just not do that as a practice. So we're going to hover it above level 2 and go so that the phantom line appears upwards, and click. And then so that's given us level 3. We might put another one up there and it gives us level 4. And we'll put another one down below for our basement level, and that's level 5. Clearly we don't want level 5 to be, that would be a weird thing to have our basement as called level 5 as it's below level 1. Very strange. So what we do is, as we can see here, we're hovering over the level line and the label itself. We could change it in a couple different spots. Right now we've got it, we could actually, well, so we're clicking in. See, this is what I said. I ended up, because I didn't escape out of it, it added a new level into level 2. So we'll actually undo that, so we get rid of our level line that I by mistake put in there. So we've escaped out of this command. We're not putting level lines in there anymore. We're done with that. So now if I click on the level 5, we'll bring it up into properties. Will tell us where we're at, how far we're at with everything. The name here in the properties menu says level 5. We can change that in the properties, but we can also change that by clicking down here on it as it hovers over it. As your mouse pointer hovers over the level 5, it'll put a box around what it is going to manipulate. So then we can left click that once and change that as to saying that is basement level. We'll maybe capitalize that, make it seem like it's a little bit important anyways. And do we want, is this in our dialog menu here, would we like to rename all the corresponding views? Of course we would. It sounds great, or otherwise you'll have, you know, a bunch of different things that won't make a lot of sense if you don't label things correctly, essentially, is what we're doing. So keeping in mind that we're entering the house here, usually at level 1 would go up, and then it might only be up to whatever level, but we can add in level lines. If we wanted to add more floors or whatever, we can add that in later. But for right now, this will be great. We're going to go into our grid lines. We're going to escape out of this and get out of here. We'll go back into our level 1. Now we can add our grid lines. Now, for residential buildings, I mean, most building material is based off of an 8-foot, 8-foot sheets of, material or whatever. A lot of the stuff is based off of an 8-foot measurement. So we'll do our grid lines at 8 feet. It just, if you're planning out a house, it's probably not a bad idea to look at a design that's based off of 8 feet increments. So if you're putting in sheets of plywood or whatever, or your sheets of drywall come in, a lot of that comes in at 8 foot. There's obviously longer, bigger pieces of drywall, but we'll say for the average person that's building a house, 8 foot is kind of your dimension that you're looking at. So anyways, we're going to put in grid lines. So that's GR, we type in, and we can put in that we've got in the top of our screen here, we've got our ribbon, and at the end of the ribbon, we've got our draw box with the draw tools in here. We'll just use the line tool. And we can draw a line, maybe up here at the top, and draw that over to whatever as far as along as what we need it to be. I usually just try and keep it a little bit within those elevation viewpoints on the side there. So that makes it sort of a bit of a happy day. That way we'll keep it inside our area. We can change this up. I mean, it's been asked of me a few times, if we have this, if we were wanting to have it so that the grid line, the bubble went on, it doesn't really matter usually, but if we wanted the information bubble to be on the other side, we'd just draw the grid line the other way, and it will end up on the other side. If we later on, for some reason, need it to be on one side or the other, we certainly can go in here and press edit type. Anytime your edit type sort of command starts coming up, you do want to duplicate. Otherwise, you'll be changing changing whatever it is that you're manipulating. You'll be changing it for the rest of the project, and then maybe the next project's in there as well. You don't want to be changing something up that you're going to be needing to be a normal way later on. So what I'm going to do is maybe have it bubble 2 looks good. Okay, and then what bubble 2 will be is maybe we have views at the other end, and so that will put a view on, or put our bubble on both ends. You can change up a lot of things, and end segment color, maybe you have a different note that you'd like it to be, who knows, maybe something in red. And this will right now, the way it's set up, will have it on one side and the other side. Your segment pattern, there's all kinds of stuff that you could change up in here, but we'll see how that looks right now. And so that's changed our line into that sort of red looking line. We don't really want that so much. I mean, you could, but I mean, it might be good to have for if you had to see a different contrast or mark out on a printout what something was maybe going to look like, as a different feature was coming up. But we'll go back, we'll get out of that. We don't want to do that. Let's just keep it simple here for what it's worth. And we'll open up our grid lines command again with a GR that we're going to type in on the menu. We could draw in another one. As I said, we could draw in and it's going to go the other way. We could do that, but we want to have more precise lines than that, a little bit more control. You can change the direction of this too if there's some reason why you wanted a grid line to go on at different angles. Certainly you could do that. We're going to escape out of that so we're going to go up here and pick lines in our ribbon at the draw tools box here, pick lines, and as I said before, it's a commercial building. Maybe we'll put our spacing at 8 feet. So for that, I mean, this could get quite out of hand and look quite busy, because a house isn't really going to be that big a thing, but we'll keep clicking these down and make them 8-foot increments. Sure, why not? It's maybe not a bad idea as I said, to keep it so that you're having your grid at 8 feet, just so you can kind of keep track of even everything. Your floors are going to be different. Plywood is going to be 4x8 sheets generally. It's important to know what you're dealing with, so you don't have a bunch of waste on your project either, right? So we've got the ones going from east to west, or west to east, I guess in this particular case. We've got that in there, but what we need to do is actually put some north to south grid lines. We'll go up into our ribbon again, into the draw menu, and grab the line tool, and we notice once again the angles there. We're going to want it to be 90-degree angles, keeping Keep it good at 90 degrees, and we'll go down from north to south. And that's put in, we've ended our west to east as 16 or 15, and then the first one coming down, it says is 16. Don't really want that in a grid, because that becomes a little bit confusing if you're trying to find, say this particular one here, we're going to find grid 15, 16. Well, you start telling people a bunch of numbers and that don't, it can be a little bit confusing. So we'll back out of this, escape a couple times. We'll actually edit this so that it makes more sense. And this time we'll go up into the property. We could change it in the bubble here. That's totally fine. And that will allow us to change it. But we'll go up here. I'll escape out of that. We'll go up here and change it in the properties menu, just to show you can do it. And I'm going to do a capital A. And that will change. We'll press apply. That changes our grid line for this is starting with A. So what we need to do is open up grid lines again by GR on our keyboard, and we'll go up here again because we're doing this the same as what we did putting them downwards. We're going to do pick lines again, and we'll keep with our 8-foot offset. So in our offset dialog box, 8 feet, and we'll just click a little bit off to the side of it, and you can see that it's adding them up as A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. The alphabet works. It's just putting them in there. And if it runs out, if you got all the way up to Z for whatever reason, then it will just add in, relabel it with a whole nother thing. Maybe I forget how it does it in this exactly, because honestly you don't get a chance to. We've almost in our grid we've got up to V. We could have done it almost there, I suppose. I've seen it a couple times, but not very common. So what we can do in this, we've got our grid all set up here anyways. So we'll stop it for now, and we'll go and continue on with another video after this. Give me 1 second.